because I keep forgetting.
All right.
All right. Are we
There we
ready
go. Let's go
then?
in.
Are we ready for the intro? Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. It's good to see such a large crowd today. Welcome to our virtual movie discussion. And today, June 6th, 2024, is the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion of Normandy, France. So to commemorate that anniversary, our topic today is Steven Spielberg's 1998 World War II masterpiece, Saving Private Ryan. First of all, I am one of your hosts today, and we have a plethora today. I am Dr. Karen Wisely. I teach history at the Northeast Campus, and I am joined today by some terrific people and one cat.
I'll go. Hi, I am Dr. Chloe Northrup. I am on the Connect campus, but today I'm coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica, where I'm doing research on my current project. So, hello, everybody.
Hi, I'm Samantha Elkins. I am also up at Northeast Campus with Dr. Wisely, and my cat keeps coming in and out. So he's an orange cat, and he's on brand.
And his name is Cheddar, for anybody.
Yes, his name is Cheddar. He's messing with my blind, so that's why I keep looking over my shoulder.
Tiffany, would you like to introduce yourself?
No.
No?
I'm Tiffany Smith Chamberlain. I teach history at the Southeast Campus.
Right. And James, if you're done with your snack.
Yes, I'm done with the snack. Hi, I'm James Hathcock. I'm also at the Northeast Campus, and I teach history as well.
All right. And I know we have Elizabeth, Lisa Self here, and some other folks. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Lisa Self from Northeast Campus, and I love World War II movies, but I've never been able to bring myself to watch this. So this is going to be the closest I've ever gotten to watching it, is hearing you all talk about it. So
we will talk all about it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So what we normally do, our custom when doing one of these events, is to start off with an introduction where I read the log line or brief description of the movie and then go over some of the main cast members and where you may have seen them before. So the log line for Saving Private Ryan. Following the Normandy landings, the United States Department of War receives communication that 3 of 4 Ryan brothers have been killed in action, 2 in the D-Day invasion, 1 in the Pacific. The last brother, James Francis Ryan of the 101st Airborne Division, is listed as missing. Captain John Miller and his detachment of Army Rangers are tasked with finding Private Ryan and getting him home. It stars Tom Hanks as Captain John H. Miller. If you don't know who Tom Hanks is at this point, I don't even know what to do with you. And so IMDb.com says that he is known for 2000's Castaway, 1988's Big, 1994's Forrest Gump, and 1993's Philadelphia. It doesn't even list Saving Private Ryan as one of his top 4 films. We did Philadelphia last December for World AIDS Day, and we're going to do A League of Their Own in the fall with him as well. I think that I want to draw attention to his rom-com work with Meg Ryan. 1990's Joe versus the Volcano, 1993 Sleepless in Seattle, and 1998's You've Got Mail. And I suggest check out his early stuff when he was funny before he won the Academy Awards.
And can we also just take a moment for his voice acting in a formative film of my youth,
Woody.
Toy Story?
Yes.
Woohoo!
Apollo 13 also. He was in Apollo 13.
Tom Hanks has range.
He's done a lot.
Yeah.
He's done
Tom
a lot.
Hanks, I can't remember life without Tom Hanks.
Well,
Like, he is that actor.
I'm not going to get super depressing, but I'll just tell you that I think about a life without Tom Hanks sometimes, and it makes me sad. Tom Sizemore as Sergeant Mike Horvath. He died. Tom Sizemore died on March 3rd, 2023 at the age of 61 of a brain aneurysm. He had already acted in 261 films. And 19, he died in March of 2023, and he still has 19 that are yet to come out. He plays a lot of soldiers and police officers. He's probably best known for doing that in 2001's Black Hawk Down, which is a very, very intense film. He was in Pearl Harbor. He was in Devil in a Blue Dress, Natural Born Killers, Wyatt Earp. He is a solid performer, a solid guy. Edward Burns as Private Richard Ribon. You may know him from 2002's Life or Something Like It with Angelina Jolie, or 2008's 27 Dresses with Katherine Heigl. I don't know if you know any of those. Barry Pepper as Private Daniel Jackson. Other than this film, he's probably best known for his role as one of the prison guards in The Green Mile. And he's most recently been in a Paramount Plus series called Lawmen, Bass Reeves. Adam Goldberg as Private Stanley Fish Mellish. It says that he's best known for A Beautiful Mind and Dazed and Confused, but I will always think of him as the weird roommate that Chandler Bing had when Joey briefly moved out.
Yes.
The dude who had a goldfish cracker in a fish tank. Season 2, episodes 17, 18, and 19, if you want to watch it. Vin Diesel as Private Adrian Caparzo. He's another one. I'm pretty sure that you all know he's in the Fast and Furious franchise. Heard of it? Other stuff, obviously, but come on, if you don't know Fast and Furious, you don't know movies. Jeremy Davies as Corporal Timothy Upham. He was in 1996's Twister. That may be where you know him, or in 2002's Solaris. I remember him from the TV movie version of The Laramie Project. Horribly sad. Giovanni Ribisi as Medic Irwin Wade. He was a weird guest star on Friends as well. Phoebe's super weird brother Frank, whose hobby was melting things. He was the bad guy in 2009's Avatar. He was also in this movie from 2000 called Boiler Room that my then roommate made me watch 1,000,000 times, and I still don't know what it was about except for Wall Street. Ted Danson is Captain Fred Hamill. I think we all know him. Sam Malone in Cheers, Jack in 3 Men and a Baby, and Michael in The Good Place. If you haven't seen that one, I highly recommend it. Nathan Fillion plays Private James Frederick Ryan. And I feel like I had to mention him because I have to keep my nerd credibility alive. Nathan Fillion was Captain Malcolm Mal Reynolds in the tragically short Fox series Firefly in the 2002-2003 television season. And also in the movie that placated some of the angry, rabid Firefly fans, 2005's Serenity. He also played Castle in the series Castle, and now has a series called The Rookie, where he plays a rookie cop. Dennis Farina as Lieutenant Colonel Anderson. It was a bit part, but I included him because he's very recognizable. He was Detective Joe Fontana in Law and Order for 46 episodes. That's probably his best known, or most recent best known. And then Bryan Cranston as Mac, a War Department colonel. Another bit part, but so recognizable. Walter White in Breaking Bad. We all know him. Paul Giamatti, again, bit part. And he's a big deal as an actor. He was John Adams in the HBO miniseries. He was nominated for an Academy Award this past year for The Holdovers. And he was also in another HBO series called Billions. He's been around for a long time. And finally, Matt Damon as Private James Francis Ryan. He was Will in 1997's Good Will Hunting. He won an Academy Award for screenwriting in that. He is and always will be Jason Bourne. And last year he was in Oppenheimer. So that's that. Saving Private Ryan was released on July 24th, 1998 in the United States. It was nominated for 11 Academy Awards and it won 5. Best Director for Steven Spielberg, Best Cinematography, Best Sound, Best Film Editing, Best Effects, Sound Effects Editing. Tom Hanks was nominated but lost to Roberto Benigni in Life is Beautiful. But the real problem is that Saving Private Ryan lost Best Picture to, does anybody know?
I know 'cause you
Shakespeare in
told
Love.
me.
Shakespeare in Love.
Yes, I remember watching that night and I was just stunned. I
One
like
of the
Shakespeare in Love. It's a good
worst-
movie, but
One of the
actually like
worst
Shakespeare in Love.
decisions ever. Its running time is 2 hours and 49 minutes. Didn't seem that long, did it?
No, no, it did a good job. But Spielberg, I swear.
You know
he,
why? Because it's Spielberg. Yeah.
Yeah, I am recognizing one thing he does is I watched it over 3 days again, and I'm like, how is it that all of his films have 3 acts to them? Because there's like the
Because-
D-Day stuff, there's the Finding Ryan, and then there's the ending
Saving.
with Ryan. Yeah, the saving. It's very much like you could do a 3-part miniseries.
Yeah.
With so many of his films. I'm like, is there a formula here? I don't know.
It's Spielberg. That's the formula. That's the formula. So generally what we do is we open it up. What did you think about it? Obviously, being the newly recognized fanboy of Steven Spielberg, I loved it. I thought it was transcendent. I will wax poetic about the shaking hand thing later. But what do you guys think? What and look at it. Is it accurate? Is it something that we can use in class? All of those kind of things. And tell us what you think. Who wants to go next?
Okay, I'll break the ice. I did not watch this movie when it came out. My parents would not let me. I was 13 years old and my parents said no. And I remember being kind of like, oh, I want to see it. Cause like some people were, and my mom and dad, like on like a triple date with their friends. And my mom and the other friend walked out because they were so upset with the war scenes.
Wow.
It was too much for them. And so they couldn't handle it, they said. And so I actually did not watch this movie until college. I was taking a global power class in college and undergrad, and we watched it then. And I remember I closed my eyes and there's a stabbing scene in it, and it was like so intense. I remember like I closed my eyes in that part because I was like, because we were watching this huge screen in the classroom, and I remember just feeling like it was very intense. And I think I've seen it maybe once time since then. So watching it again, I don't know about you all, but seeing it again now, like, you see different movies and they affect you at different times, right? Based on where you are. I was not a mother and I did not have any children in my life last time. Hearing these soldiers calling out for their mothers this time got me in a way that I was like, oh my goodness. And I don't remember even noticing that when I watched it in college. And when I watched it, I think probably I was like just starting grad school or something when I watched it again. So I thought that was an interesting thing, how these movies affect you maybe, and or at least notice and you single out things. But watching these diamonds calling out, I'm going to tell you, really got to me. And I was wondering, I'm going to ask Tiffany and Samantha how you felt about that. And seeing that, and if these movies also maybe affect you in different ways in the different seasons of life when you watch them.
No, I am with you completely on that. The funny thing is I have avoided watching this movie because like so many other movies, I knew it was very graphic. And I know that I can't watch ER even for blood. So I was like, I don't think I can do this. And so I have a way of, I spoil the whole movie by reading the Wikipedia article before I even watch it because I'm like, I can't. Otherwise, I'm gonna have anxiety the whole time. But like, it doesn't tell you about like the scene that it's always going to be Phoebe's brother to me, is dying. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't picked up on that in these discussions. And he is calling for his mom, and I pretty soon after that, I had to be like, okay, and that's what we're done with for tonight. And now one of my boys is coming in because I have 3 boys. So the idea of losing multiple boys at war just, I don't know, absolutely horrified me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chloe. I think the last time I watched this movie, I didn't have Bear yet, and
There's one.
I have a yeah. I see you're with your son, Samantha. I have a big, robust, active boy, and yeah, it's hard, right? When they're calling out for their mom, and you hear it differently. You hear the film differently, I think. Can you identify as a mom, and they're calling for, for. I will say though that historically speaking, even though we have like all of this rhetoric as to why the United States was fighting the war, I think that the reflection of these guys actually having a sense that they were fighting the war for their families, that they were thinking about the home front a lot, that they were thinking about their moms and their brothers. I think that's pretty reflective of the actual data of soldiers during World War I. They really weren't thinking about like grand American strategy. I think they did believe that there was a Nazi and Japanese threat to the United States, but I think most of them, if you look at their letters, if you look at like their oral histories, they saw themselves as fighting for their family to go home or to defend their family. So I think it makes sense that in the movie it was like very forefront in their mind. Sad as it is for us to hear now, I think it's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I think you're absolutely right. And they talked a lot, not just about their families, but like the guys next to them, their friends. Like that's what they were really fighting for. And they really wanted to get home as quickly as they could. It was kind of a let's get this over with, let's get this done, and let's get home kind of a mentality. Yeah. But earlier, Lisa, you said that you liked World War II films, Lisa Self. And growing up as a kid, one of the things that kind of got me into history was, watching old war movies. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up as a kid. And so I watched, like The Longest Day, which is another D-Day movie, like back in the 1960s, and Tora, 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 and things like that. So, I kind of have this like backlog of old World War II movies that I've watched. And those are like rah-rah, American patriotism, look what we did. Man, this thing is just full on reality. Like those guys are on that landing craft and that door goes down and it's just hell on earth, man. Just bullets are flying and people are dying. And I remember when I saw it in the theater, it was just so shocking. And you couldn't help but sit there and tear up and get emotional, watching as it all unfurled. And I remember my stepfather at the time, he was very moved by the film. Another friend of mine, his dad got up and walked out of the theater. Like he had served in Vietnam, and when everything started going down, he just couldn't handle it. He just had to leave. But I remember my stepfather saying that we should force every high school senior to watch just the first 30 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, and then they could decide whether or not they want to go into the military, or something like that. Yeah, it's just powerful. That first 30 minutes is about as real gets. And I remember hearing veterans who were doing interviews, guys who were actually there, they were talking to them as this movie came out, and they said like that's as close as you can get to the real thing. Like that's the closest that they'd ever seen in their lives of what they actually experienced that day. So yeah, Spielberg is amazing. He is a magician, and this is just another one of his works of art. He really brings it through.
And I think it's important to remember on D-Day that these guys didn't get to decide if they wanted to go into the military. These guys were, for the
true.
biggest bulk of them, drafted. So I think you have that spectrum in the film, those who really seem ready and confident in their ability to fight, and those who are really terrified and suffering with PTSD that's overt and PTSD that is more managed, more controlled. I think you're seeing that spectrum in them, which is like, I think very reflective of drafted armed forces, you know. Also, to your point, Karen, about the time, and to your point, James, about like how accurate, how real it feels. I think that Steven Spielberg does a really amazing job with speed of war. Things are moving really, really quickly, but then when you're looking at the situation from the vantage point of a soldier, because your adrenaline is high, soldiers usually report that things actually feel slow and you
Mhm.
can't actually absorb all of your senses. So you can hear or you can see, but you're kind of not taking in everything at once. And I think he does a really good job of that. And I wonder if it's that perspective that kind of make Saving Private Ryan so difficult for veterans to watch, because the perception is so accurate. Not just the portrayal, but the way it feels in that moment. I wonder if that's kind of what's unique about that film.
Yeah, I think that it probably is because it does show that, you know, with the opening scene, which is the biggest, you know, battle scene in there. Well, I guess the end is kind of a big huge battle scene, but where the parts where you can't hear, and
Yeah.
and you know, and he's still like looking around and frantically looking around. You can see him like he's moving fast, but yet the people that he's looking at seem like they're going in slow motion. And it's very realistic, and anybody who's been in any kind of traumatizing situation, it's not just war, but any kind of situation where you are under incredible stress, you know, whether it's, you know, an accident or something like that, and you have that same kind of feeling where you're like, am I the only one that's like, has the world slowed down around me? What is happening?
Yeah.
And that you can't process vision and hearing at the same time, and that things like that, and it's so realistic. And yes, it is. I can imagine the number of people who had to get up and walk out of that because of it being as triggering. Um, but it is also important that we have it to be able to, you know, recommend to our students, to show them. You know, I sometimes show a little snippet of that opening scene, um, and and then I, you know, tell them, hey, go watch the rest of this movie, because it's so good, you know. And I do kind of want to like, I do want to at some point get into the handshaking thing, because that is something that has only just occurred to me since I have started, like, since we have started doing these movie things, and I've begun to look more critically and more closely at Steven Spielberg directed movies, and how there's a through line in them, and how his attention to detail is so incredible and his storytelling is so incredible. The whole handshaking thing, where at the very opening scene on that boat, in the first scene, it shows Tom Hanks, and his hand is shaking as he is, you know, taking a drink from his canteen, even before you see his face, and then his face comes down, and it's like, oh, that's Tom Hanks. And there are other moments in the film then where his hands are shaking, and they even have a discussion about his hands shaking, and how the stress of it all is making his hands shake, and how Sizemore is like, maybe you need to find another line of work, ha ha ha, you know. And then, you know, and it just keeps happening as he finds himself in these incredibly stressful situations. And then at the very end, when he looks at you know, James Ryan, and tells him, earn this, and then dies, and the last shot is of his hand that is now still.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even tell you how many times I watch this movie, because I watch movies, and I watch them over and over and over until they are like part of my DNA. And so I've watched this movie dozens of times, and I never really noticed that through line until this time. And it was a gut punch.
Yeah.
And that gosh darn Steven Spielberg did it on purpose.
Well, and I have to admit something also with the handshaking thing. We have to give credit to Tom Hanks because this is where like my background as a dancer comes into play. I've had to do really weird dances, and trying to keep a trimmer in your hand like that and make it believable and not make it too big, but also make it visible, and also have it where he can like kind of stop it, but like he's having to physically stop it and everything like that.
Mhm.
That is phenomenal acting. That is
Yeah.
hard. That is not easy to do. And he did it completely believable. Like if I didn't know Tom Hanks is an actor, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this poor man, like clearly traumatized by war. Like it's such a small detail that can really sell just how traumatic in such a small way we can see it. And it's going back into that realistic. It's so realistic, that just the film with Tom Hanks' character. Although if we're going to be nitpicky, technically there weren't generally captains that were about 46 years old. They were generally in their 20s. But that's me being nitpicky only because I have to be nitpicky because that's what I like to do. But other than that,
Yeah.
Are you telling Tom Hanks wasn't 20 years old in this movie?
He's forever young.
he is.
He's only
in my
40
mind.
now, right? I mean, that's
Right,
Yes.
right. Yeah. It's
That
like
his
Big, the
kids are
movie.
definitely not 40, helping explain to their dad the whole
Right.
like Drake. What was it, like the Disney thing? Have you
The-
seen his kids explaining to him like pop culture to Tom Hanks? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do love that.
Yeah.
But you know, my dad, who passed away in 2018, loved World War II movies. I mean, I guess like does everybody's dad or grandpa love war movies? I don't know. What we can chat about that. Definitely, is Karen like everyone's grandpa here loving World War II movies? So, but he used to sob in that because he said Tom Hanks is not only telling Ryan, he's telling all of us that we have to earn what's happening. And he would be
Yeah.
like, beside him, like really getting into it because he said, like, he's not just telling Ryan, he's telling every American or every person in World War, who benefited from World War II to earn it as well. So I think that's now. I have a question for everyone. Do we think, and this is something I ask, because movies obviously reflect the time in which they're made. Do we think that this movie would be made in 2024 now in the same way, or do we think it would be different now?
I mean, obviously it would be different. I think obviously it would be different, but I think that if Spielberg wanted to make it, he would make it.
I don't
I
know.
mean-
That's a good question. It's hard to answer.
Yeah, because I mean it is very pro. I mean it's a pro-war movie. I mean there are some parts of it, but it seemed like that the Hacksaw Ridge that we recently talked about was a very much of a person who did not want to. There was combat all around him, but he personally did not want to. So I'm wondering with this
Well,
same
maybe-
movie with the same characters, would it come out today and would it be probably Dunkirk? Remember, we didn't see a lot of action. We didn't see a lot of people really killing one another. So the more recent war movies, at least, seem a little different. And I'm kind of wondering, can we see a movie like that would be popular maybe today in the same way?
But
Well,
does
I
the
think
character
that-
of Upham kind of settle? Like
Yeah.
Upham didn't want to fight. Upham.
Upham
Like,
didn't.
It took everything
Well,
they could just to get him to
Upham
bring in
had-
supplies and stuff. So
Upham
maybe
had a
he
little
sort of
character
fits that.
development though at the end.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. There at the end, he changed his mind, but for a lot of it, he didn't want to fight. Yeah.
Mhm. I would say
though,
Oh,
there's
sorry.
something to be said that a lot of the movies today don't feel the need to show some of the combat because Spielberg already did it and did it
Yeah.
so well that it's
Yeah.
kind of like, well, we don't need to do that. We've done that and we did it well. We can't compete against that. If we try to compete against that, we're going to lose.
what
Can
year
I
did
piggyback on
Schindler's
the
List come out?
detention?
Schindler's List is,
That was mid 90s, wasn't it?
It
Early
was-
90s?
Was it before this or after this?
it was
would've
before
been
this. It was
before.
91, 92, crud.
Yeah.
I'm
It was before
checking.
Private Ryan.
So I feel like this was part of that same story, though, that he wanted to tell, because he made Schindler's List because of the uprise in anti-Semitism. And I think he kind of wanted to continue to show what happens when you have that kind of hate and that kind of you know, bigotry, that it could lead to this happening. And is this something that we want to happen? You know,
So I was
and-
wanting to,
And
I was
I'll
going to
say
try to
this
piggyback off
too.
of,
Okay.
sorry. Now, I was
No,
going to
you
say
go.
the attention to detail thing that Samantha's been talking about and others. So I remember like after this movie came out, it was such a big rage. And I remember reading about how Spielberg put the entire cast through basic training. Like they had to go through actual basic training. One of the guys in the movie, he plays a very small role, is Colonel Dale Dye. He was actually a colonel in the United States Army, Vietnam era though. But he's actually in the movie, the Bryan Cranston scene where they're talking to the general about, you know, how we need to go in there and get that boy out. So Colonel Dye put the entire cast through basic training except for Matt Damon. He held him out of that. And like it was really grueling. Like Tom Hanks had been in Forrest Gump. You remember in Forrest Gump, there are scenes where he's in Vietnam. So like Tom Hanks said they did a little bit of basic training to prepare for Forrest Gump, but nothing like Saving Private Ryan. They just put them through basically torture. They just put those boys through hell for a movie. You know, it's not actual combat, it's a movie. But they kept Matt Damon out because they wanted that resentment to be real. Because remember how they're like, why are we doing this? This is a waste of our time. It's one guy, you know, we shouldn't be risking our lives for one guy. So he wanted that resentment to be real that they felt towards Matt Damon. And again, it's such a small detail. It's such a small thing, but it plays out on the screen. You know what I'm saying? It's so Spielberg to go to that level of detail in making the movie. So sorry, I just want to add that little bit about the detail aspect.
I have another question. So this is based on the story, right, from the Civil War that you see them invoking several times, right? About a
Yes,
family
right.
who loses several times. Where's our movie about that?
It's a good question. Chloe, I think you should make that movie.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of what I mean about he wants to continue the story of Schindler's List. It had to be World War II because it has to have this larger meaning. Civil War, yeah, it has a meaning, but it wasn't, you know, the uptick in anti-Semitism that happened. You know, thank goodness that's not happening anymore. That was sarcasm. Everybody, that was sarcasm. You know, that he was responding to with Schindler's List, I think that you know, it was important that he put it in the context of World War II. And maybe because also World War II movies are kind of our zeitgeist, right? I mean, right. There are so many World War II movies and not nearly as many good Civil War movies.
But that's the next one then, I think. Like, since this obviously laid a foundation, we need now to go and explore this story, I think, for Civil War, right? I feel like that would be an interesting movie too.
But
remember
here's
he made
the problem.
Lincoln.
Who's doing the historically based movies nowadays?
I don't know. He made Lincoln. That was a really good. I thought. It was
Yeah,
a really
Spielberg's
good Civil War movie.
making.
Yeah.
Spielberg makes them. He made
Yeah.
this. He made you know, he made Amistad. He made
Yeah.
you know, all these. That's why we have so many. We've been talking about him so much as we've been doing this, is because he makes all of these really epic, really great historically based movies. And who's doing that now? I guess Christopher Nolan. So he'll do a Civil War movie, but it'll have like weird timeline issues in it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess Oppenheimer, but made a lot of Batman movies too. So yeah.
So I would love to have someone make it, but it would have to be someone like a Spielberg who's like, I want to do this movie, and no one's going to tell him no, because otherwise, I don't know, a Civil War movie is gonna get made today.
Well, aren't there being more like series, honestly, being made more so? And especially even there's
Right.
been a lot more Civil War series and stuff that they've been doing more recently. I wouldn't say like super.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they did the series about the conspirators, but I don't think it was very historically accurate.
Well, they've
Yeah.
done
But I
more
mean, but
looking at
I
like
heard about
roots and
that.
stuff, right?
And then like Apple's
Karen's
doing
telling me I need to get an Apple TV subscription. I'm sorry, Karen, I haven't done it yet.
Manhunt.
I will. I will.
Manhunt.
Yeah, Manhunt.
Is
And
that
what's the
historically
one about
accurate at
the
all?
bombers
It's
during World
from
War II?
it's from the book called Manhunt that is, yeah.
And there was one about the bombers, the guys
Well,
who
and I
flew
mean,
bombing
like,
missions in World War II. That's on Apple TV.
oh
I
yeah,
don't know the
Masters
name of
of
it.
the Sky.
Yeah, Masters
yeah.
of the Sky. There you
Masters
go.
of the
Yeah.
Air.
Guess who
Masters of the
produced
Air.
that?
I'm gonna guess Steven Spielberg
Yeah. And Tom Hanks. Yeah.
and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Hey, I went to Washington D.C. over spring break, and you know the World War II memorial that's out there. Did you know that Tom Hanks gave a lot of money to make that happen? Like he's really the guy who got them to build that World War II memorial out there in the mall in Washington D.C. So I thought that was pretty cool. And he's also the guy who did Band of Brothers, which came out not too long after Saving Private Ryan.
Well,
That
and I think
HBO
he's the one that
miniseries.
made Forrest Gump happen because Forrest Gump was not going to have certain scenes because it was starting to get so expensive that Tom Hanks was like, no, we're doing these scenes
Right.
and basically like personally invested, which once again, you get like war movies and
Yeah.
But you know, Chloe, like to your point about like modern cinema, and you, Carrie, y'all are both kind of talking about this, like how it would be made today. I feel like if they made a film like this today, they probably would do something almost like historical fiction. There would be major changes in the way reality looked. And I think that might get you viewership in the immediate, like on a streaming service or something. But I just feel like those, I don't know, those pieces are going to lose longevity, right? They're not going to stand the test of time the way a film like this and most of the films that Steven Spielberg makes, because the attention to detail and the accuracy in his films is what makes it so unique, what makes it so stellar. I mean, they mentioned like the Sullivan brothers in this, and that's obviously real. You know, I mean, that's like a real reference to something that people who are fans or are interested in either World War II movies or in World War II, the historical period, they're going to know what they're talking about. And the constant kind of reverence
tell
of
us what
Gold
they-
Star mothers, even the morphine syrettes. I mean, like
Right.
it's right, you know, and I feel like you're going to watch most modern films or modern series and they're going to cut corners either with research or their budget or with whatever it is they're doing. And you watch it and maybe it's entertaining. You know, you're like, okay, that I like World War II, and so I liked watching that. But I just don't know that people are going to be talking about those films or those series for the same amount of time that people are talking about Saving Private Ryan, or to Samantha's point, saying, I'm not going to make a movie that reflects that at all because I simply can't compete. You know, I mean, like who can outdo it? I don't know. I feel like if they probably, I don't know. I don't know if somebody else could make this movie except for Steven Spielberg, perhaps.
Well,
Christopher Nolan would
I
try.
now have a question
Christopher
He would try.
Nolan would
based off
try.
of some of
He would
this.
try.
He would try.
He would.
What would happen if
I-
Steven Spielberg had made Oppenheimer?
But
Right.
Christopher Nolan
Ooh.
is so British because remember we were just talking about Dunkirk, and in that whole freaking movie there wasn't anybody shooting at anybody, right? It was like
Right.
the one battle scene was those guys running. So it's
There's nothing so graphic that you're uncomfortable about it. And I think that's kind of the point of Saving Private Ryan in a way. You have to be uncomfortable with what World War II was, not just excited that the United States and the Allies won, but I think the point is the cost, right? Like to the point at the very end of the film is like you can be excited about it, but it really did have a huge price.
yeah.
Well, I do
needs
have
to
a
be
question.
earned, right?
If this was made today, because like obviously Saving Private Ryan has nuance and everything, and I think one of the best scenes in it actually was when they shot the two German soldiers. It turns out people have translated that, and it was Czech soldiers who were basically conscripted by the German army. And they were
Oh, yeah.
basically saying, we didn't shoot anyone, we're not bad guys. And then they kind of laugh afterwards.
Right.
And I wonder, because like you see these nuanced moments in there, and like it shows how like bad war is. But my curious, like if this was remade today, do you think they would have even more of that? Because we see so much generationally, like people today are unhappy with America compared to in 1998.
It
He
sounded
wants
like he
to
said,
talk to
yeah.
you guys.
Didn't
Yeah,
it?
they
He has a
are.
lot to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, what you're saying kind of reminds me of that scene where there's a flamethrower hitting a bunker, and like German soldiers are falling out on fire, and that one guy screams at the others, "Don't shoot, let them burn." That,
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of portraying in a negative way. But so what you're asking is, would it, if it were made today, would there be more scenes like that that show American soldiers kind of doing things they shouldn't be doing? Yeah,
War crimes.
war crimes. Yeah, call it what it is. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Did
I
that
mean, there's
come
a
like?
pretty long scene in the movie where they really, as a group, contemplate killing a prisoner of war.
Yeah.
They've captured
Yeah.
somebody, and they're like, "Are we going
And
to kill
then
him?"
and then
I
in
mean-
the end they say like, well, I should have. We should have killed him.
Right.
Yeah, they
Often
make it
didn't want to kill
complicated.
him. Yeah.
Like, then that's the point of the soldiers. Like, we should, because if we let him go, what if he just regroups
Coming back and
and
stabs
attacks
us.
us, right? And that's like
So
a
at
thought.
that point, it's
Yeah.
defending.
And then, like, but what is the consequence if you commit a war crime? Like, do you have to take the risk to your soldiers in order to follow the code of conduct of warfare? Or do you commit war crimes in order to perhaps prevent danger to yourself in the future? And then there's, of course, that issue of like when they're like, well, but how well do you sleep at night? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and I think I think it's Tom Hanks's character, right? Who says, I just know the more people I kill, the less I feel like I'm at home, or something like
Mhm.
that. Or
Yeah. It was
I
something like
mean,
that.
yeah, I mean, so I think they handled like a lot of very complicated stuff in that movie, and they maybe didn't dedicate a lot of time or dialogue to it, but it was there.
Well, and that's what I'm so curious about, because they show clearly this nuance of warfare, which I love how they did it, because it makes me question it. Like I'm the fact that we're talking about it at all, the fact that we can bring up all the different times and there is that nuance. But I do wonder, how many people do you know that watch this movie and don't talk about those moments as much as like, oh yeah, and the Americans came in and it was really hard, but they like still took the beach and they won. And
Most
don't
people
know.
I've ever talked to about this movie, it's just how jarring it is. Just the opening scenes, the death, it's in your face. Anytime that movie I've ever talked to anybody about it, that's mostly what's talked about. Is just how, I don't want to call it graphic, but just, I don't know how violent it is. Just it's putting you there in an actual combat zone, what it would have been like. Like, do you remember there's the part where Vin Diesel's character is trying to save the little French girl, and uh, her parents are like trying to hand him off to him, and so like he's doing the right thing. He's trying to help a little girl. He's trying to save her life, and then he ends up getting shot and killed. And so Tom Hanks's character is like, that's why we don't save little girls, and that kind of goes back to what you were talking about, Tiffany. Um, you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to help some child, but then you get shot, you get killed. So why do the right thing? Why follow the code of conduct in a combat zone?
And I do like their questioning also about their mission, like what is really the point of what we're doing, in the larger picture as well. And them even like questioning it, because I think sometimes we think like, oh, soldiers are just gonna like maybe follow orders because that's it. But having them all really in this small group then ask themselves, what are we doing and why are we doing it? I think it was a really great thing, even though it was, I mean, it's not a big part of the movie, but it's still them wondering, is this really it? Is saving one person really making any difference when we can be doing these other things, especially like the sharpshooter guy saying, God gave me a talent to shoot Nazis, and what am I
Right.
doing, So I
Yeah.
think it's great kind of seeing these different characters and how it kind of plays out with them. And then the annoying guy the whole time is like the one guy who lives I'm living. In the end, you're like, really? It wasn't like the sweet medic, like, come on, you know? And it's like the translator guy who won't shoot, you know, who like, and then the annoying guy. So it's like, that's interesting. It's like, that's just life, isn't it? But yeah, I think that part of it was interesting for me, having them each explore what are we doing and why. And I think that that's probably a very realistic thing that people would have been feeling.
Yeah, and I think that it probably would have been feeling it no matter what their mission was. I mean, they make a lot of they say a lot of stuff about how, why are we doing all of this for one guy and all of that, but they're the biggest, I'm going to call them whining moments, are whenever whenever Tom Hanks is like, all right, you know, we can't just, you know, keep going and find Ryan. We have to get rid of this, you know, area where they were being
Ambushed.
Ambushed. Thank you. Couldn't think of that
Yeah.
word. And so that the next people don't, you know, come up and do that. And that wasn't part of their initial mission. And the same guys who are bitching about their initial mission are now like, this isn't what we're supposed to be doing, you know, and all of this. And it's like, I kind of get the feeling, and that's realistic too, I believe, that, you know, it doesn't matter what they're told to do, they're going to be complaining about it. And that, you know, it was like,
Yeah, and then there was Tom Sizemore every time to say, "Hey, we're doing this because he told us to." He's sort of the toe the
Yeah.
line kind of a guy. Kind of going back to what you said earlier, Tiffany, about how some of them didn't want to be there. You know, they were drafted in, and then there's the Tom Sizemore sort of sergeant character saying, "Well, you don't question orders. You just do what you're told to do, and we're going to do this because Tom Hanks's character said, you know, hey, we're going to hit this so others don't get hurt." And I think that's a realistic thing too. I think sergeants, officers, you know, they had to kind of convince these young kids, this is why we're going to do this, and it's because we're told to. So.
And isn't it interesting that Tom Hanks's character was a teacher? He's having this conversation with Matt Damon's character at one point, and Matt Damon's like, "Oh, I could never be a teacher because of the way like we treated our teachers or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that."
He and
And
his
Tom
brothers,
Hanks is like,
yeah.
"Oh, I've had like 1,000 students like you." And I wonder if that background of Tom Hanks makes him feel more responsible, not just for the soldiers that he has, but kind of all of them. Do you know what I mean? We have to clear
Yeah.
this out, because if we don't clear it out, then there's just going to be another group behind us that's going to have to deal with it. So like, why them and not us? It's that
Mhm.
sense of like, I don't know, almost social responsibility. Like you just have to take on this burden as best you can. And I think that that part of his character, probably it's something that we can relate to. Probably everybody on this chat right now. You know, it's a different
Yeah.
sort of responsibility. If you were with a group of younger people, you would kind of naturally, even if you were dealing with a tremendous amount of stress and you didn't want to be in that situation, you would feel like you needed to take on that burden and handle the situation as best you could and protect as many people, right? You would just, I mean,
Take
would
care
y'all
of the
not?
kids.
You would feel like
Yeah.
you have to, like, this is just something that you have to do, whether you want to do it or not. And I feel like maybe we can relate to that in a way that perhaps people that don't work in education maybe can't automatically. But I totally sympathize with that when he has that kind of way of thinking. And it's just natural to him because he's like, well, I've been teaching for like over a decade. I can't remember how long he said, but it was like over a decade. And he sees these soldiers that are with him kind of like, not as his students, but I've had 1,000 students like you.
Mhm.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, he just sees them differently. So I just wonder how much of that, you know, played into his character.
And especially having Ryan be this young, fresh-faced guy like Matt Damon, who is, I mean, I don't know about the all. I feel like Matt Damon is a likable person. And like, I think these guys really wanted to hate him, and then getting there and then him being like, well, I'm not leaving my guys. I'm not gonna, you know, like this is I'm
Yeah.
here doing my job too. And like it's hard for them to like hate him and like want to like keep hating him. So I think having an actor like Matt Damon play the part made it, I don't know, to me more interesting. It would have been great if he was just this like jerk that was, you know, mouthing off that everyone could really like, but then like they're like, oh gosh, we actually like him, Yeah. So
Again.
for students and guests who are here, what did you think about the movie? What stood out to you if you watched it? And especially, I think, thinking about the 80th anniversary, which is why we're talking about this here today. And I'm working with the local museum this fall to do an exhibit. And we're tentatively calling it something about the last home front, because we were kind of saying that we feel like for World War II, this is the last time that war really hit home for so many people in the same way, and hasn't really maybe since World War II. And so we're looking at a bunch of different like artifacts and stories, especially for our students. And I know for me teaching, when I first started teaching a bit ago, more students had seen Saving Private Ryan. Now, when I ask my students, very few have. So are we, even this movie is getting older as we are getting farther away from World War II itself. So what kind of like stood out to you maybe, but also what stories do you have maybe about World War II yourself? A lot of us have mentioned our parents or our grandparents.
Yeah, anybody want to unmute and comment? We are open to that.
I'd like to jump in just real quick. Did you guys see where they flew some of the guys out to Normandy? They're like 101 years old, 104 years old, and they got them on
I saw
airplanes.
one didn't make it.
Oh no. Oh
I know, he was at like 100. Yeah, I know.
yeah. And you think about
Okay, I
that.
just saw that. I just saw the article today. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Just like how many of that generation, and I don't know, like they throw out the title The Greatest Generation. I'm not saying I agree with that or anything, but there are people look back and call that the greatest generation. Like we're losing
Tom
them.
Brokaw.
Yeah, Tom Brokaw's book. Yeah.
Who oddly was part of it, wasn't he? Or
Yeah,
was he
yeah.
the-
But like we're losing that generation pretty quick, you know. 100-year-old guys are being flown to France to go to these memorials. I don't know how many more of those they're going to be able to have, you know, as these guys are getting older and older.
Well, it's been 80 years, so if they
It
were
has been 80
20,
years.
they're all going to be, yeah,
Right.
they're
I
all
mean, even
in
an
their
18-year-old
90s.
kid, right? Even if you were
If not
18,
hundreds.
you'd be 98 right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And shout out to Richard Miller, who was a Connect faculty member. His dad was part of D-Day, and he was thinking about him today.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I, you know, in honor of D-Day, I started watching for probably the 98th time, Band of Brothers last night. So.
God, such a great
Yeah.
series.
They go
My
together.
wife,
Saving Private Ryan,
They
Band of
do,
Brothers.
yeah.
It feels
They
like there's
do.
a flow.
They really
yeah,
do.
it feels like Saving Private Ryan's sort of the amphibious landing, and Band of Brothers is the paratrooper version of what happened. And my wife doesn't really like to watch war movies at all. She really doesn't like them. But I was watching Band of Brothers. She walked in the living room. She couldn't help it. She sat down, and when it was over with, she said, "That's like the greatest war anything I've ever seen in my life." Because I highly recommend Band of Brothers. It's amazing. You can't watch it enough.
And it's on Netflix currently, as well
Oh
as
yeah,
Max.
that's true. Yeah.
And if you really want to see it, I have it on DVD right over here.
Yeah.
I do as well.
I've
and
got
I'd
my
be
little box set
happy
up
to
here,
share
too.
it.
and it's a companion series, The Pacific, as well. It's on Netflix and Max and on my shelf over here. So.
I've got my Ken Burns Civil War DVDs and Band of Brothers box set DVDs. So I'm right there with you, Karen. Yeah.
Yeah, so Amy Garcia said the action and scenes in this movie were insane. It was super realistic. Yeah. Honestly, I just couldn't watch it alone. I don't blame you. And I had my family watch it with me. I do have a cousin who's in the Army, much respect to them. Yeah. And it does give you like more respect, I think, for people who are willingly serving in the military now. It's a choice, and I do wonder, and I hope that they all know the choice that they're making, that it is, you know, it is potential for giving your life to your country. So it is extremely realistic. I know that this has become a Steven Spielberg fan discussion, but I really do think that he does such a great job with that. And
Well, I wanted to bring up something about the realism, and it was one of my favorite things I found when I looked into the movie. I don't know if anybody mentioned this about the amputees.
Oh, no, yeah, but go ahead.
Apparently, in the D-Day scene, they specifically got like 30 to 40 amputees to actually play the
People who got
soldiers
their
on
arms
the
blown
beach.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they actually like, because I was going like I'm watching it because I told Karen the other thing that stuck out to me was some of the gallows humor because I have a very dark sense of humor. So I was laughing way more at this movie than I thought I would be, considering it's not generally seen as a comedy. But like I told her, I like laughed at one of the scenes in the D-Day opening scene, one part of it, and she asked me, was it the guy picking up his arm? And I was like, no,
Right.
that did not make me laugh, though describing the scene after does make me laugh, which is terrible. It was when they were all trying to yell for the medic, and the medic's like
Oh,
helping
yeah.
someone on the beach, and they're like, I don't remember his name. They're like, Zachary, Zachary, go get Zachary, Zachary, like that yelling and trying to get his attention, and he just is not hearing them from everything going around and everything. I don't know, that like,
Oh yeah, the guy who was Phoebe's brother. Yeah, what
I think it
what
was that they were
actor's
trying
name?
to call for him,
Yeah.
but at that point I didn't even realize who he was because you couldn't see their faces really in the whole
Yeah, and
D-Day
then-
scene. You don't really know who they are until they survive that.
And then right when he gets the bleeding stopped, the guy gets hit in the head.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
throws down his helmet. Like,
Mhm.
I won't lie, like it made me kind of laugh to myself, and I'm like, no, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but at the same time, like, I am not a soldier. I have no experience in any of that kind of mentality, but I do have experience with finishing something only to be told, oh, like you didn't need to do that.
Mhm.
Right.
And so
I
like
think
they
we all
had
do
these
in this
very
thing.
like obviously like my experience is not the same at all. But at the same time, like there were these very like humanizing experiences that like really could connect us with these soldiers, even though the majority of the audience is never going to serve in the armed forces. And so I don't know, I really liked that. But I also have a terrible sense of gallows humor, so
So
Yeah.
y'all, those of you who went to UNT, and I'm looking at quite a few mean greeners on the screen here. Did you ever take any classes with Dr. Lewis, Dr. Adrian Lewis? He was like the military history guy. Well, so when that came out, he thought it was good. He thought it was well done. I remember his one complaint. He said, when you watch the opening scenes, it's about a half an hour. The ramp drops. They're on the beach. They're fighting forward. They blow up that area of barbed wire. They're advancing. They're advancing. They get up to where the barracks are. He said, in reality, on D-Day, that took like 3 hours, and some of those beaches took like 4 hours. So he said, yes, it's a good movie, but he said it just it didn't take. It wasn't as quick as what they show on the film. That there was a lot. Like they had to cross, what was it, 400 yards of terrain to get to that seawall, just to start to engage the Germans. I mean, that's insane. That's 4 football fields with bullets flying, landmines going off, pre-sighted artillery. I can't even imagine that. And a question that I sometimes wonder is, could a modern generation, myself included, I'm Gen X, could a modern generation of Americans be made to get off a boat, cross 400 yards of hell to engage the enemy that's up in a bunker, right? Heavily protected with machine guns and artillery. Could a modern generation of Americans be asked to do something like
Do
D-Day?
you want an actual answer to that?
I don't know.
So we do the United States military does like estimations of if we did a general draft through the selective service,
Right.
what percentage of young men would actually be eligible to serve. And in the last Army readiness check, we estimate that if we had another draft today, only 30% of men between the ages of 18 and 26 would be eligible to serve in the armed forces, whereas in World War II, our highest rejection rate was around 50%.
Wow. But also we have a lot more technology today, like drones, laser guided cruise missiles. Like, I don't know that we would necessarily need as much manpower because we're very technologically driven in today's world, but God,
When you're getting into World War I, the idea that technology will win.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They said air
But,
power will
and
win everything. Yeah.
That's the thing, like losing someone now and having to go find them and not knowing where anybody is and things like that. As somebody who is constantly connected with my families and friends and things, that kind of gave me a little anxiety, to be honest, to be like, we don't know where anybody is. We don't know where these people are. We don't know. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how in the world? Like, I am in a foreign country right now. My family is tracking my every move. I go one place, I send my location,
Right.
it's
Life
like,
360.
and like,
Yeah.
hey, I'll let you know when I get there. Hey, I'm here. I made it safely 2 blocks away. And so like, I can't imagine like that kind of like not knowing and not hearing and these letters and things like that. And I thought, this is not that far removed. And yet it is so different from a life that we live now that it's almost like it's unimaginable to be that separated from your loved ones and not having constant communication and things like that. And that to me was something that I kept thinking about. I'm like, man, I don't know if I get a handle, let alone the fighting part and running up a hill or doing any of those things. I don't even know if I could just handle like not being able to talk to my loved ones on a fairly regular basis and things like that. So it's just so almost like another world in so many
Yeah,
ways.
you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Like that scene where the mother, I'll try not to cry through this, but when the car pulls up and the mother, it's obvious that her kids have passed away, and she's just sort of like she falls to the ground and they have to help her up. Like, I don't know, in today's world, like I've got a cousin whose son is in the Air Force and he's in Guam. He works hard. Don't take this the wrong way. He works hard over there, but like he sends home pictures of like playing volleyball and he's on the beach and it looks like a paradise over there in Guam. And this kid's serving
It
our
is
country.
super hot and humid in Guam. That guy is
Yeah.
suffering.
Right. He should get time and a half pay or something like that. But like, okay, so he's a modern day Air Force kid, but his mother's getting updates every day. Like, we did this today. Hey, mom, look at me. I'm on the beach in Guam. That wasn't in World War II. Like, it was just, it probably would have been so precious just to get a letter from the front, just, I'm alive. I'm okay. I'll write you when I can. Yeah, today's world, it's just instant updates. Like you were saying, Chloe, just, we know where everybody is all the time. Yeah, you're right. It was a different world.
Yeah.
Well, most of the time, that's true. Yeah, as a parent of teenagers, I've got Life 360. I know where they are. I'm watching that. Prom night, I was up till 2:00 in the morning watching where my daughter was.
Well, I just mean like my nephews were in the Navy and they were submariners and they would go underway for 3 to 4 months at a time. And during part of the time they were dark, as they say.
Right, yeah.
And we couldn't contact them. They couldn't contact us. We didn't know exactly, big picture, one was in the Atlantic, one was in the Pacific, and you could probably imagine the scenarios in your head about where exactly they were in those situations, but we didn't know. And, and we still don't know because they can't tell us. which is
and
allows
tell
you
the
to
story
speculate
about
even more.
that they went swimming in their plan.
Yeah, but
If there were sharks.
That was different. Yeah, that was it. They weren't dark then. Yeah, they were.
No,
yeah.
but I'm saying that like even if you knew where they were, they still get up to no good sometimes.
Well, yeah.
So tell this story because it's funny.
Oh, that they surfaced and they surfaced in the Bermuda Triangle, which I know isn't a thing anymore, but for Gen Xers, that's terrifying that they surfaced in the Bermuda Triangle, and they let the guys go swimming in the ocean there, and there was a person that was stationed with a machine gun, and and my nephew was telling me about this, and I was like, well, that's stupid. What's that for? And he's like, for a shark attack. And I was like, oh, he's going to shoot the sharks? Is that's what's going to happen? And he said, no, if there is a shark attack and someone was far away, he would shoot that guy so that the sharks would go after him so that the rest of them could make it on the.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, and you knew that and you still went swimming? What is wrong with you, man?
Jeez.
So there's something to be said that like we like to keep track of each other so much more now, but we also have to like recognize. And I grew up, so I laugh because so often I talk to my coworkers and they'll laugh that they're the latchkey kid generation and stuff. And I'm like, I grew up in the birthplace of the Amber Alert. Like that was not my generation at all. My mom watched me walk to the end of the street at all times, kind of thing. And so, like, yeah, but at the same time, we still can find ways to get up to no good, even when someone's tracking us.
That is true. That is true.
So
Don't
I've
tell
got a
parents of
question.
teenagers that right now.
I've got a question to throw out there. So what is your favorite Steven Spielberg movie? Karen, you were talking earlier about how this is a fanboy thing we're doing here with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, we
What do
kind
you
of
what
are.
do you think
I
is his
mean,
best movie? Like
I think it's
his high
best
point, if you
movie.
will.
I mean, it's full
It's a
disclosure. I
who's
have
who
not
of
yet seen the
movies.
Fablemans, so I can't.
I haven't seen that one either. Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to it's hard to not say Schindler's List because I think he wanted that to be his masterpiece.
I
his
think it is his
absolute-
masterpiece, yeah. And that you talk about crying, like I mean,
Yeah.
Private Ryan will bring you to tears, but man, it's so hard to watch Schindler's List. It's important, and I think people need to watch it, but it is so hard to watch. I mean, you've got to pause it and grab some tissue, and it's so hard. But I agree with you. I think Schindler's List is his masterpiece.
Nobody said E.T. Wow,
It's a cute movie.
It is.
Close
Yeah,
Encounters of
just
the Third
kidding.
Kind.
It is. I will tell you
There's
though
two
that
separate questions. What's his best film versus what your favorite film is for him? Because those could be two separate answers. Just saying.
and since
Yeah.
we've started this whole like Spielberg fanboy group,
Don't forget
I've-
Indiana Jones. Those are
I've
good, too.
wanted to go back and just and watch, like I never liked American Graffiti. I really never did. And I think maybe I need to go visit some of these other, E.T. I watched one time because I was like, whatever.
Well, and I wonder then about that because like Chloe, and I feel like this is like a really good moment to bring it back to the very first thing Chloe said about changing perspectives.
Uh-huh.
Watching Steven Spielberg before I was a parent, like Saving Private Ryan, and then watching it after I'm a parent, which I didn't do both. But like now that you're looking at all these other works done by Steven Spielberg, it's like, okay, now how much did I miss of things he
Yeah.
did in other films?
Yeah, and now
I love watching or reading books that I loved as either like a teenager or kid and then reading them again. And I love reading them again with like my niece who's 15. I like doing this because I feel like you get to re-experience these things in different seasons of your life. And the same thing with movies. And I think, Karen, that's why, watching them again and again, I think that there's something about that because you get something different in different places that you're at. And I'm glad I rewatched Saving Private Ryan now. I think it's an incredibly important movie for us. And I think for us to think about the cost of that, but like as we're getting farther away from, again, when the movie was made versus when the actual event was, it's important for us to remember these things, but also to share with our students. It's almost like it's weird. It's like our professors talking about things that were far in their past. It's like it's a weird thing to start like thinking about as we're getting older and as we're teaching, especially in History 1302, less so in 1301, but more in 1302.
Right.
Yeah, it's frightful how much like we vividly remember because we lived through it, and they have they're
Yeah,
like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And
Growing up in the-
It's a historical event.
yeah.
Like growing up in the Cold War, I'm not going to say I had nightmares and things like that. That wouldn't be true, but there was a tension that was there. There was a real fear of the Soviet Union and the possibility of World War III. And now when I'm lecturing and I'm talking about the Cold War, they're just like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's okay. It happened. I'm like, but you don't understand. Like it was really terrifying, and the Russians could have launched their weapons at any moment. But yeah, that's just not, that tension's not there, I guess, now in today's world.
Maybe it should be.
Yeah, maybe there's crazy things going on over
I mean,
there.
because if you look at the doomsday clock, we've never been closer to
Yeah,
doomsday, you know? I mean, what are we, 30 some odd seconds now? I mean, you know, like,
yikes.
and so maybe we should be more scared about that than what we actually are, I guess. But
Right.
Dr. Wisely, on that happy note, can you share about other movies we're discussing this month?
To bring it back to the middle, to what we're talking about. Yeah.
thanks for setting me up like that. That's great. Yes, so for the summer we have two more opportunities here. One of them is June 18th, which is a Tuesday. And the movie we're going to cover, I put in the chat already the poster for it. It is But I'm a Cheerleader. It is so we are commemorating Pride, and that is a movie that is it's a cult classic. Let me just tell you, and it's a little risque, but in some parts, but it's definitely satire, and it's definitely hilarious and very campy. If you know what camp is, and based on the number of people who got it completely wrong for the Met Gala a few years ago, when that was the theme, I'm guessing a lot of people don't know what camp is. So it is broad comedy is what it is. It is very satire, and it is being satirical in very broad and I it's hard to describe. It is a very LGBT kind of comedy, and it is, it's a movie that is quite fun. Then in summer
I'd say
two,
just go watch it and come to the discussion, and you can learn about that.
yes, you can. And in summer two, we will have on July 18th, which is a Thursday, we will talk about Casablanca, because we are finishing up our World War II theme era here. And we're going to finish it up with something, maybe, because last summer we did some films that were, let's say, a little depressing. And and so
And you still
this
talked
summer
about that depressing movie last summer.
I thought we would do something a little bit lighter this summer. And so we're finishing up World War II with a less depressing World War II film, Casablanca. It's a timeless classic. It is definitely, if you have any interest in movies, you need to see this one. And so all of these are available to watch via the Swank Digital Campus database on the TCC library website. You can watch it for free on your computer, streaming. And so watch the movie, come to our discussion. Make sure that at the discussion you fill in the attendance survey. I posted that in the discussion. Please do fill that out so that we can keep track of how many people were here, and that we can let your professors know for extra credit purposes. So please
And
do
I
join
have a
us.
couple things as well. And Dr. Rosie, if you could post the thing, I'm not able. The Wi-Fi here is questionable.
Ah.
So we have a Juneteenth webinar next Friday at 1 with the National Juneteenth Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. And then on July 3, we have Echoes of Liberty. We are exploring 1774. And this is going to be an annual event every 4th of July coming up, where we are going to explore a year in the Revolutionary War. And so those are two events we're doing. Also, Stacy, if Stacy's on here, do you want to tell us really quickly about the event 2 weeks from today? If she, I
Sure,
don't know if she, oh, yeah.
So 2 weeks from today is World Refugee Day, and we'll be having a conversation with Dallas Catholic Charities about basically about refugee resettlement and the history of refugee resettlement in the United States. We'll also talk about the current refugee crisis, the steps that a refugee needs to go through to resettle, and then what students can do if they want to volunteer or work with refugees.
And all of this information is available on the link that I just posted. That is the history events at Tarrant County College site that Chloe maintains. So they are listed there with the exception of But I'm Cheerleader, because I sent that to her after she left the country. And
I'm surprised. I thought I put it on there though. I did send it out though to all the history faculty teaching summer. I know, because Tiffany will attest to this, and I sent that out to everyone teaching for summer. So yes, thank you all for coming. Any last questions or comments?
Dr. Wisely, I think only you would think that you were lightening the mood with World War II, but good job. Let's lighten it with the Second World War.
you don't know the movie we watched last year. That was so depressing. There was not a light second in it. It was just, oh my God. An important film, but super depressing.
Well,
So,
sounds good.
But
I'm
hey-
so glad that I was able to make it.
The theme for this upcoming fall is sports movies, which will definitely be a lot more uplifting, generally speaking.
But Connect is continuing on the World War II theme for the 80th anniversary as we go through for different months. So Connect is keeping up the World War II for the next year. So brace yourself and get ready for
Every
some
time I
Zoom
teach
meeting.
World War II from now on, I'm going to introduce it as let's lighten the mood with World War II.
You can quote me on that, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to be like,
As the great
We're gonna
Dr.
lighten it.
Wisely said, let's lighten the mood. And
lighten the
talk about
mood.
World
Let's
War
talk
II.
about the Second World War.
Remember that time when I gave you 50 minutes to do
50 minutes for all of World War II. That's what she wanted. From me. From me.
Oh, that was funny.
That's
Oh,
funny.
yeah. You would die if you knew how much time I
I
spent
would.
on
I'd love to hear it though, actually.
You might die if you
I
know
would
how
love
much
to
time
hear
I
it.
spent on World War II. We might kill each other with content.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. This was fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you're welcome anytime, and that goes for any of other instructors who are on here. If you want to join us on any of these, we are happy to have anybody come and add your 2 cents.
Mhm.
So,
All right. Have
So
a good
please
day. I'm
do.
glad I was able to join everybody today.
all
Thank
right.
you all for coming.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.